I was also doing one of the guards who was like more talking like this. And then I did the Spider Queen who sounded like Eartha Kitt.
Welcome to Mind Your Is-Ness. I'm Chokae, a traveler, writer, artist, yoga and meditation coach, sharing stories, adventures, and life hacks with an eclectic collection of friends from around the globe. This episode, Lockdown Art, Crazy Makers, Authenticity, Self-Care, and More with author, actress, singer, and voiceover artist, Miss Candi Milo.
I wrote a memoir. You know, I got nervous because I haven't heard anybody. I'm just telling my story.
Right.
And I put it up like asking other authors on social media, what do you do when someone is still alive? And a writer of a very big musical said that you own everything that happened to you. And if people wanted to appear nicer in your memoir, they should have been nicer to you. And I was like, oh girl, permission granted for me to just write my truth. This is how I saw it. This is how I dealt with it. And it's very interesting.
That's good for me to hear, actually, because I've been writing, and I write journals, and then things come and go, and then I just write things that are in my brain that I think, well, nobody's going to see this until I'm dead. And then I start thinking, well, I'm learning so much just from normal people sharing their normalness.
Right.
And the through line is ain't nobody normal.
Between you cannot play with Cray Cray. You can't define it. You can't contain it. You can only observe and keep yourself quiet at a distance, you know?
And knowing and seeing, like actually seeing it and recognizing it. That's why, when I started saying so many years ago, do not engage with Cray Cray, it was something that I said to myself first and made myself laugh. When I first started posting that and saying that to people, there was like a kind of a funny lashback, but not in an awful way. It was simply a person saying, well, you can't get away from I said, I didn't say get away from it. He's like, well,
exactly.
I said, no, I said engagement. Look it up. Do not engage.
Do not engage.
I said, you might have to work with Cray Cray. You may have to live with Cray Cray. You may have to be in class with Cray Cray, at the supermarket, in the frozen food aisle, at Tesco's. You do not have to engage. Just because you're invited to Crazy Town, don't mean you have to accept the invitation.
It's true, though. And my parents took care of the mentally ill right from the jump, beginning in 1969, and I was 8.
Oh, wow.
And we lived in the house with them. When Nixon and Reagan emptied the streets to balance the budget, they emptied all the hospital and everybody went to live on the streets. That's my memoir, and what it was like to grow up in this family and then inside the house and then move next door and have this be your family business, not a cleaner's, not a liquor store, but a halfway house with no rules. It's the Wild West. My sister and I at 8 and 6 are dispensing medication because no rules, no laws. And, I have like a pretty good sniffer, and it's never frightened me like someone. I'm not unattracted to people who are insane. We all are, but I'm not, I'm attracted to people who act it out, but I am very good about disengaging. I'm very good at saying I'm busy. Who else is going to be there? What are we celebrating if we want to go to dinner? I've gotten better at that, and I love the COVID isolation because I've always liked that, and now I don't have to pretend that I enjoy going to a party, or getting together with people that I don't want to engage with, that I don't, for whatever reason, I don't want to hear about their day. I just don't want to hear.
It's like, You
The
know what?
worst. I am
But
the worst.
no, you know what? I see. The thing is, I already know you love people, and I get what you're
I
saying
do.
because you do love people, and I do know that. And
I do.
this reminds me of my grandmother because my grandmother, she loved staying at the house. She loved doing her thing. She saw who she wanted to see, and some people thought she was antisocial because she had zero tolerance for stupid. Uh, and she, you know, it's not like her give a shit was broken. It was missing.
Right. Right. Like she was not equipped. And for me, I I have this tendency to want to say, but you see where you're heading. You see what's happening. You see what you're doing. And then I just get really tired. And I think it's because I have too much empathy. So when I see someone spinning, I want to fix it. And so it's easier for me just to not see people.
Yeah.
It's better so that
Yeah.
I don't have to offer my advice, my thoughts, my 18 years in a halfway house. It's like,
Because you know
dude,
what, you're a fountain of knowledge. Just just your existence, you're already a fountain of not this. That's one thing that one of the main reasons that I decided to go ahead and do this podcast is because whenever I call friends anywhere in the world, these amazing things happen. And I never
right.
thought of them as podcastable. But then I started listening to podcasts and I was like going, I do this every day because I don't have uninteresting friends.
No,
I really don't.
right?
Everybody I know
No,
is interesting in some sort of way. It could be a person who never leaves a house, who's only in her garden and with her cats, and this and that. And it's the most interesting thing to me because I'm genuinely interested in people.
right. Genuinely. So you can't have an uninteresting friend.
Thank you.
You
That's why
can
I'm saying.
only, yeah, you can only be uninterested in it. I had been chided in an acting class by an acting teacher that said, "You are incredibly intimidating, but the timbre of your voice." And I stopped him and said, I am not intimidating. You are intimidated by me because something in me reminds you of something that doesn't feel right. But I'm not intimidating, and I'm not going to own that. So,
No.
but I am. You are intimidated by me, and that's good for me to know, because it means that you can't be one of my interesting friends. Because I will never, ever hide my light. I will
No.
never not be me. That's what we did when we were kids.
Yeah.
Joe, is what we were like, how can I be liked? How can I keep this job? How can I get them to hire me? How can I do this? I'm going to be adorable. I'm going to be everything but say that my fucking feet hurt. I've already sung this song 5 times. I've done the acting. You either want me or not, and I'm not going to write your show for you.
Ooh, ouch. There's one.
Yeah. So if you want to hire me and pay me, we can flush out this character, but I've done showed you everything and my feet hurt. And now that I'm my age, I can say that in a really funny way.
Right. Well,
I'm
you know
old and
what?
my feet hurt.
That's it. Because my my grandma was very funny, and she had, I mean, some of the lines that she would use, and if you really listened, like for one thing, one of her favorite words was stupid, but she never ever called a person stupid. She never called
Really?
anybody stupid ever. She would say, "I know you ain't that stupid." Okay, that was one way it came at you.
Right.
And then the other one was, don't be stupid. I remember one day I was at her house in the kitchen. She made me look it up in the dictionary. She made
Did
me
you really?
she made me look stupid up in the dictionary. So she was about clarity.
There was the one thing in my family, you were never allowed to be. And that was stupid. And that is true. And that the judgment of our character is, you know, do we run screaming into the night? Do we say, let's ride this out, let's keep it? Do we lower our morals and our behavior and double? I'm part of the let's ride this out. This reckoning, this shaking
Yeah.
was going to come. And as we see 2020 just go further and further down the crapper, that you say, you know, are you going to quit? Are you going to ride it out? But change is here. Change is going to come. Change doesn't come.
Right. Change doesn't come. And you know what? And being active, it's one of the things that's been coming up lately, because, you know, when I first thought about doing this podcast was last year. And
Really?
yeah, with all of this crap that's going on right now, especially with racial tension and the disenfranchisement and you know, there's so much that's always there and has always been there. I always knew that would be part of the dialogue that would come up, because, you know, I'm going to talk to my friends about pottery and about their fun stuff. And hey, where'd you get that? You know, where'd you get that painting on the wall back there? And, you know, things. And then here come COVID. It's like, okay, well, there's a thing, and I'm out here doing my thing. I'm trying to be Mr. Hey, I'm at the palace in Thailand. Look at them in here. It's like, and, you know, I'm not a blogger. I was trying it out as a thing, and then COVID. I'm like, it's like, okay, well, let me adjust, and then here comes, oh, y'all got to kill another brother. Oh, damn. Now you got to kill a sister. Okay, now you got. It's like, so then anytime
now you kill a little brother who's autistic,
right?
And now the bottom never. And so let's take it to what you first started to do. How do we continue to create art and stay and keep these fragments of our mind open and never forget that Breonna Taylor's murderers are still cops? Right. They're still cops. They've not been arrested. Elijah, that poor child, you know, George Floyd, it just continues and continues. And I think what we're going to see is even more across social media. You're going to see more influence from bad actors, the Ukraine, Russia, these things. Like, I even follow people on Instagram, or I've had to unfollow them on Twitter and Instagram, because it started great. And then I have this thing where you can be an ally, an activist, or a chaos agent. And I think that an ally is there and quiet, an activist does his thing, and a chaos agent has no allies. And they are not active. Yeah, they are just there. The Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Hey, you know, they did this. Their goal is your chaos, your discomfort.
The agent provocateur happens on both quote unquote sides.
Right.
Because you can have a crazy maker in your midst who is creating more crazy than the power you're trying to fight.
Right.
One of the things in the original Night of the Living Dead, this is a crazy reference, but it pops into
my God, I loved that movie.
Okay, here's the thing. Zombies are coming. We don't even know why. Right. They're coming and they're killing folks. So never mind why. Let's just survive. And the thing that terrified me the most in that movie, to me, they got totally wrong in the second movie, the second version of it. The crazy girl in the house with them scared me more than her through the whole movie. I was terrified of her so much more than the zombies. She scared Candi. She scared the bejesus out of me. I couldn't.
Like, think about that. That is really true. I was following somebody that on Instagram that was like, follow me, I'm gonna break it down. so that everybody understands, except white people don't follow me. And I was like, okay. And I'm going to say something and it's for Black women only, not even Black men. And I was like, okay. And then if you white people don't comment on that, and I was like, at this point, you're lucky I'm still following you, because you told me not to follow you, not to comment. And then it was like, I would like all white people to leave this post. And I was like, got it. I was more terrified of this woman than I was that I thought, what about the young white people who are still following her because she had said, I'm going to break it all down for you. And then I thought, I don't get it, but I'm very good at taking direction. And then because as you and I talked, I don't engage. I was like, all right, you're telling me exactly who you are and I'm going to go, but not before I tell you that you're a chaos agent. And that's all you're here to do, is that you have to find an ally, or else you're spitting into the wind, because you're just, I found this in going to adult children of alcoholics meetings when the science on that was new. That all anybody did was retell their stories, and every week I was triggered to the point where I was like shaking and saying, I can't hear, how do we move past what's, besides vomiting, what can we all do, and how can I help you, and how can you help me? And I finally had to, I'm sure now, 30 years later, it's gotten much better, but I had to go because it was chaos.
There's always going to be crazy makers, and this is one of the things that I learned very, very early on before I had a term for it. Crazy makers are a thing, and we may still have them in our midst. And if we will all just listen to Auntie Maya, who says, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. If we can really embrace that, we'll save a lot of time. But in the meantime, I didn't have a word for that, but you knew who they were. You know who they were. They may have been family, they may have been friends, they may have been acquaintances, but they're in your camp, so to speak, and they're creating chaos within the camp. So the agent provocateurs come from the outside and from the inside. I remember going to protests and we caught them. We caught a few of them. It's just like, who are you with? Like literally, you see them and we're going, okay, guys, we're going to be peaceful. We're going to do this. We're just going to walk. And then somebody throws a bottle and you're like, who is that guy with? Because we
talked about this, don't do it. And I remember the first Women's March, I had lost my phone. And it was before it was locked. And so we were sending texts to my phone because I knew the texts would show up on the lock screen. So this guy had my phone and we said, here's the phone number I'm calling from, the first Women's March. He said, I've got your phone, I'm calling you from my phone, which came up blocked number. So 3 hours it took me to hunt him down in downtown LA from the Valley. I'm traveling on public transportation with my friends, Carrie Snow, Dory, all of us are heading down to the Women's March. I find this guy and he's in a skeleton, is it baklava, the thing that's across, like our masks now, only it went all down, and it was a full-blown skeleton face. And he was standing, but he didn't want to tell me what his face covering was. So when I grabbed my phone and I thanked him and I said, let me pay you for this, he was like, no, I'm good. And then I realized he was an undercover cop. And then I realized he was one of the first guys to throw something to try and start trouble at the Women's March, and he was chased off. And I kept saying to everybody, I think that's the guy who had my phone. I think that's the guy. And then I realized there were 30 or 40 of them, all young white guys, all super fit, like really fit guys. And I was like, I wonder if they're all undercover and they've been sent here to be agent provocateurs.
Absolutely.
And it didn't work. It was incredibly peaceful. And then we tried to figure out if he unlocked my phone, was able to unlock it and read all the way through, but I've never had any trouble. And it's
Good.
now been what, 4 years? So
Yeah, but
I think it's
still.
pretty good, but it was really, it's very, I think it's very interesting. And I think it goes to everybody's motive. And crazy makers don't even realize they don't have a motive. They're
Yeah.
just ninnies. They're just memes. They're screaming memes. And
I have one in particular who I know her, or I've known her for years. I love her, and I know that when I'm with her, we've got about a half hour.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's it, because I effing timed it. It wasn't on purpose that I timed it, but I timed
right,
it one because I thought every time she's around and we adore her, she's funny and she's talented and she's all this. We're hanging out, and then all of a sudden there's irritation. There's irritation
right.
in the group, and what is that? What happened? So you sort of backtrack and think what, and then you can't really figure out how the weirdness happened. And then I started hanging out with her one on one, and that's when it started to really reveal itself, because it didn't have all the other. She does it so naturally. It is as
Right.
if she cannot be comfortable unless everyone else is uncomfortable.
Well, it's all a very carefully crafted life
Yes, it
that
is.
begins to crack apart. And then that's it, because that's the kind of person that had introduced me to our friend. And I was like, this guy is so brilliant. But a crazy maker brought me in. And then I realized by spending one on one time with her that this carefully crafted lie about who she is, how she was brought up, what's going on, what she's really angry about was all untrue. And
Mm,
it's so true in her mind. And then when she gets around people that do a little pushback, like, well, growing up in Santa Barbara, you weren't poor, and you weren't, so I don't understand why this, and then it breaks apart, and then the crazy making. And you could, with someone like that, I agree, it's about a half hour, but there is only, I find, Joe, that there's only prepared speech back and
mm,
forth. There are prepared talking points. And if you ever reach in and really want to have a relationship, a friendship, there's nothing there.
yeah,
And they're everywhere. It's where hate and misery, that's who they gravitate to,
right.
so that's
Yeah,
why I love your thing where just don't engage.
yeah.
You
Do
just
not
don't
engage
engage
with
with
cray
Cray.
cray,
Do not.
because one of the things that I'm learning about the whole interweb thing, as far as the youngins go, is they crave authenticity. Now, see,
Right.
somebody like you and me cannot imagine watching someone tie their shoes and have a website or a YouTube channel where they tie their shoelaces. Hmm. Somebody like me, of an age,
Yes.
like just
And I'm right there with you.
just totally not getting it. And it took me a while to get, like, okay, I used to have them, like, whenever, like, I don't have any kids, but I would ask my friends' kids, and I'm uncle to all around the world. And
Right.
I would say, so show me some of your favorite stuff, just out of blind curiosity. And they would show me these things, and I'd be like, okay, wow, you're going to watch this? You're just sitting here watching this? And then, then the gaming thing. I said, what are you doing? Oh, you want to watch a game? I said, and I thought he meant, let's play a game. And
Right.
so I go into his room, and he's like 12, and he's like, and he puts his thing on, and I'm like, well, where's he goes, no, we're going to watch. I said, we're going to watch someone play a game? Yeah, he was so excited. And again, it threw an old man off again. I just did not understand. And the through line of all the ones that threw me, the through line was authenticity. A person playing a game is acting and reacting in the moment, however they are. A person tying shoes
Woo!
are
Woo!
are tying their shoes right now, and you may not have seen a shoe tied that way, or you think those are cute right now. Nothing's prepared, nothing's scripted. I had a young person see me with my computer, and I had my camera there, and he came over and said, "Oh, are you a blogger?" I said, "I'm trying this. This was last year." And I said, I'm just messing around trying. And I said, I used to be a photographer, and I had a photography studio and blah, blah, blah. And I have all this old footage, and I have stuff. I have slides. I said, you know what slides are? I have slides.
Love that.
I have slides from Nepal. I have all this stuff. And I told him what I'd like to do is start putting some of those things together, do these little montages. And I have stuff on
Yeah.
mini DVD, mini DV cassettes. And I have
Yeah, I remember those.
VHS cassettes with stuff. I might have you and me on one of those suckers. And so I'm telling him this, and we were both excited, right? Then I realized we were both excited about two completely different things. We weren't even excited about the same thing. I was excited about the result, like getting this stuff together
Yeah.
and making this thing and presenting this really cool thing. He was excited about the idea of watching me go to my storage unit, get boxes, pull out mini DVs and CDs and slides, and the process of getting it all digitized and category. That's what he thought I was talking about. He thought I was talking about I was going to film the process of,
Oh my
right.
God.
He wasn't even thinking, he could care less about the result. He was interested in the process because he doesn't know from film. He doesn't know a slide. He doesn't know any of that stuff. And the
Wow.
idea of a box and a storage unit cracking open and me reaching in and pulling out a VHS thing and
Right?
getting it right. That was what, and so I was
Wow.
like, okay, wow. That's
Right?
the presentation, the thing you do with it. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's going to be a wonderful produced. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cute.
Yeah. It's gonna be cute.
But that was all worked out and scripted and planned and this and that. Me going to my storage unit, you don't script that. Authenticity. And this is one of
Yeah.
the things that is giving me hope about the youngins, is like they do crave it. There's a lot for all of us to continue to learn, but there's an element of craving and accepting and realizing authenticity is making much more sense to me in the way they navigate through this world.
Yeah. I just got chills. I mean, I think I just learned something very important that I think even being in acting classes and people 30 and under in a class with me would say, boy, there was a flash where I really saw you. And I think that was more important than the timing of any joke and the resulting tears and or whatever hilarity. And I think that a couple of those young people lived for those flashes where there was no yesterday or tomorrow or here's how much work I put into it, not results oriented, but the process. And I wonder if this is because being raised in this generation of scripted reality,
Mm-hmm.
these reality shows they're all scripted.
They're
And
all scripted. Yeah.
I did one of the first ones in 1984 after the Loud family. NBC and Dick Clark ran this movie called Reaching for the Stars, and I was selected. And we would have these days, and then by their editing, they scripted a completely different result out of all truth,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
truth. And so I looked at Gabby, my daughter, and said, why are you watching these shows? It's all scripted. It isn't. And Kim Kardashian is going through a hard time. And I'm like, she has more money than God and she has the IQ of paint. None of this, I promise you, I went 18 weeks with a battery pack on that was like this big on my little back. I was filmed for 18 weeks. We rode on a bus. None of what happened in that movie happened. They took it out of order. They made us all hate each other because there's nothing like a good cat fight between 5 women.
Yeah.
They made it racist. They made it, and thank God we all still talk. Like we all still communicate because, I'm sorry, I had to turn a light on the subject. And I said, it's really interesting that even in the most I think this generation of 30 and under has lived under false reality. Yeah. And now we've got TV and the internet, and everything the internet is telling you is false. It's right. Why people are looking to watch people tie their shoes. You're right.
Yeah.
Because it's not fake.
Because it's not fake.
Because it's not fake.
So it made me revamp everything, and I was like, it just made me change everything. And like, yeah, even if I do travel blog stuff, it'll be photo montage, or it'll just be little moments here and there, which a lot of travel blogs and blogs are pretty much in the moment. But to really get good at it, here comes the formula, and you need to have a skeletal structure, but how much are you going to flesh it out in terms of today's audience? And so I'm still learning, and the people who started popping in my mind when I started thinking, well, who do I just want to chat with? And I had already thought about you like months ago. And then, as I told you, I was watching, just trying to kill some time. I'm flipping through Netflix and just found some animated thing I'd never seen before. And I thought, frogs? Warrior frogs? Oh, Jesus. Okay. And I'm like, let me check it out, because that didn't push me away. That actually pulled me in. I was like, okay, warrior frogs. I have to see this. So I tune in, and I'm watching it. I'm hooked by the first episode. So I'm binge watching this frog animation thing, and I'm like, who's doing this? Right, Kulapari. And I'm like, who's doing this voice? And I'm like, oh, hell no. I was like, and then it was like, oh wait, she doing a spider too? And I was like,
Spider Queen.
I'm like, wait a minute. And that's when I sent you that message and said, girl, I'm watching Kulapari. How many voices are you doing on this thing?
Like, and there's more that are like uncredited.
Yeah,
because, you have to have the guards coming in. And I'm like, oh, 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 oh. And they're like, we're just going to lower that. And there were like 6 of us in there doing like 80,000 voices because it was direct to video, and now it's on Netflix, and I'm like, write me a check.
Seriously, it's because I I did a little bit of voiceover stuff, and I know if they can get you to croak this or to do this thing, it can be used. They can use it. And I thought, if she's got at least 2. Wait a minute, you were doing before the young guy, because you were doing the main guy in the second season.
Yes.
The magical frog.
The magical beast. The magical beast. I was also doing one of the guards who was like more talking like this. And then I did the Spider Queen, who sounded like Eartha Kitt.
Oh, now I got to go back. Because it's still fresh. This is still fresh. I can hear it now. Oh,
and now it's like I think it was like 3 years ago that we did that. And I was like, what do I have to be? And I was like, I think I'll just do Eartha. And then I am like, and they were like, not too much Eartha, but it really was.
It was Eartha enough. I mean, but you know what? It wasn't so Eartha that I thought Eartha. So it was perfect. Nailed it.
Now you got to watch it again.
Oh,
but now you got to watch it again and go. And then how long you've known me? Since the 80s. You have to know that that's my Eartha in there. That I was like, I'm going to give them just a little bit. Say, si boom. Say, si boom.
Oh, my God. Ooh. You know, the last time I got to see her was in Hollywood at the
Whoa.
Roosevelt Hotel across the street from the Chinese Theater.
Yeah.
Nobody in there. It was Eartha Kitt and about 7 of us
Shit.
in the cocktail lounge. Her
The Cinegrill.
piano. It was like a little
Yeah.
bar-y little area,
Oh
tiny,
my God.
tiny area, and you. Well, that's old school. She was. It was like we were in Paris.
Oh my God.
And I was
Oh my God.
expecting, I got there like 2 hours early, just expecting it was going to be ridiculously packed. And I knew there was not assigned seating and it was going to be a lounge kind of situation. Got there like 2 hours early. Nobody, nobody, nobody. Then a trickle, couple people. And then it was showtime. She started pretty much on time. And it was basically Eartha and a bar stool and that piano that she could crawl all over. And yeah, Eartha Kitt at across
Jesus.
the street from, and I was like, I can't
From Grauman's
believe.
Chinese.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, across the street at the in the hotel. Yeah,
Jesus.
Eartha Kitt. Boy, that was too much. And you always did such a fun Eartha. It was such a wonderful homage to
I
Eartha.
love
She's
it.
always been one of my faves.
I just think she was so bright and so contrary and so ahead of her time.
Yeah,
I was always just really fascinated. And then because I had that little nasally thing, it just was, and I'm a good mimic. And I
sure.
think it was it, but I always felt like never got her due because
Not in the
of
U.S. She
whatever
didn't.
she not in the no like Josephine Baker, not in
Yeah,
the US.
not in the
People
U.S.
just didn't get it. I had the great fortune, one of the last musicals I ever saw before the COVID closed down was Ain't Too Proud. And it was, I got to tell you, it every single person in that musical, in that band, in that company was better, even in the smallest role. All the women who had one line,
Mm.
one phrase of a song were better than any woman singing lead and holding a show. I mean, it was because that in LA is what you need to be when you're Black. You need to be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
It was spectacular. But one of the things that was said in dialogue that I never forgot was that the Temptations wanted to sing War, the song War.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Berry Gordy said, no, you're the safe Black. And that's how you sell music. If you become Edwin Starr, you won't sell any music. And of course, Edwin Starr sold a lot of War and it made his career. And they were like, but it was interesting that I felt that you would never be able to put Eartha in Ella's position or Sarah
Yeah,
Vaughan playing. She just wouldn't play the game. She was Edwin Starr.
that's
And
it.
the rest were everybody could feel comfortable having Ella Fitzgerald. You know, even
Right.
Marilyn liked Ella. You know,
Absolutely. It was a safe thing. You know, a lot of those blues guys from back in the day, Howling Wolf was with one of the ones who said, no, I don't want no advantage. Just give me my money. No, I don't need no Cadillac. Give me my money.
right? Exactly.
That was a different angle,
Right.
but it's the same kind of like, yeah, y'all, he can be that over there, but that's not you guys over here.
Right. We need you to sell
We need
records
you
to
to,
white people.
right. You know, and right now that's that shift. I mean, there's so much of it that's still here. I just saw Oprah's light skinned girls documentary.
Oh.
Chaw. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's so real. It's so real, and we need this because back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of that separation and that discourse from within. Um, that was and still is such a thing in the Black culture of the US. It's like they're just from within. There's
Hmm.
this colorism. There's always going to be the classism and the this and the that. The colorism is so deep, and it's dark. It's truly dark. Um,
Yeah. One of the things that I had watched, I think I spoke about that woman on Instagram, and I was
mm,
immediately fascinated. She is so bright. And she was saying, I think that white people they have a mental illness, and their mental illness that is ingrained in them is that you need to be in proximity to whiteness. The
mm,
whiter the whiter,
yeah.
blonder, fairer, the more success. And that is an illness that needs to be eradicated. And she said, and then now I'm speaking, she said to Black people that we have that too,
Mm,
but it's been ingrained in us because the closer we are, why do you need to be best friends with the light-skinned white girl? Why is your success and your acceptance of who you are based on your proximity to whiteness? And
yeah.
then she told us all to go to hell and get off the channel. And I was like, but it's getting good and I'm learning so much shit and I'm taking it in, but I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to go and I'm going to, because I think, but I do, but I basically think that what it was that white people in her mentions were questioning and asking
Yeah.
her to do the homework that they needed to do. And I think she just was exhausted, but
I was, you know what,
you know,
Candy, I was just going to say, I have some friends who have snapped. Not
yeah,
completely snapped, but I have friends who are highly intelligent college graduate professors, educators, artists of all sorts. And there are a few of them. And I hesitate to have them on this show, but I am going to probably get at least one or two of them. And they're the most eloquent, amazing, intelligent, beautiful human beings. And they're done.
yeah,
They're just done. So every now and then there's something that comes out of their mouth, and I'm like, okay, come on now. And they know that that was out of line, that was out of step, but they're like, you know what? To hell with the line, to hell with the step, in step or out of step. In this moment, here's deal.
right,
And they start laying it out. And I'm like, ooh,
right,
wee. Because it's like something that I'd said before. I've mentioned this before, how with a lot of times folks don't say something, they don't say anything for a long time. And then one day they just snap. And I think that's happened to a lot of people. And they only snap to their, okay, here's the thing. They mainly, the trickiest part of the snap out is with the friends you actually do love and enjoy and adore, who you want in your life. And then you have to look at yourself and go, you know what? I ain't said nothing in the past 5 years. This woman has been saying this ever since I met her. This
hmm,
dude has been talking like this ever since I met him. But what happened was that they were an acquaintance before, and then they worked into the friend thing,
hmm,
and you didn't adjust. See, they don't need to make an adjustment. They're being who they are.
right,
So what they are doing is what they've been doing. So if they are talking bad about Mexicans when you met them, they're not going to stop talking bad about Mexicans if they work their way into your friend circle. So it's up to
right.
you to let them know before they get in frame. See what I did there? See what see what,
I do.
see what I did there? That you're not cool with that kind of stuff. And but you
Yeah,
can't but you can't let them get in and hang out for month after month, year after year, and then all of a sudden one day just snap, because now
right,
they're like,
right,
whoa, what happened? It's like
right,
I can't take it anymore. Like, ah. So then
right.
if the two people can get through that, which is what's going on right now in a lot of ways, Candy, it's going on all
Yeah,
over the place. If we can get through that, if we can stay together enough to get through these differences, that we may have to get through those little things you haven't said before, that now you know you need to say this
Mm-hmm.
in order to clear the space, and be open to listen to each other. Because I have so many friends all over the world, and I've been all over the US, and there are folks who are in a state of mind where you just like, I don't feel like going down this rabbit hole right now. Just don't feel like
Yeah.
going down it. It's like, okay, I just bellied up to a bar in Houston, and just to hear the, oh, just like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, wow.
I mean, how do you, it used to mean something when I would post, I'd like to slap your mother for what just came out of your mouth. Someone should slap your mother for raising you like that, where you feel you can say that. And then I mean, I had a handyman for a while who was a big Trumper. And he talked about, he doesn't hate anybody because he's got Jesus, and he
Oy.
doesn't hate anybody. Girl, it gets better. He doesn't hate anybody, but these fucking Mexicans taking all of his work. And I said, just excuse me, but your last name is Mexican. And just because your family's story didn't start with sneaking across doesn't mean you're not next. Like earlier we talked, I mean, he's gone and I won't use him. And every so often he checks in, just, hey, how are you? And he was like, I really want to finish doing that thing at your house. And I just deflect. And then last week he said, I'd like to come and fix that light switch. And I said, I can't, you're a racist. And I can't take it. Somebody stood on a human being's neck for 8.5 minutes. And I can't hear any more of your stories about how Mexicans are taking your job.
You're
Just
full. I found myself,
full.
and it's funny. I was. It's. I mean, it's funny that I'm even saying this, but this is us talking. This is us talking.
Yeah,
And
right.
I found myself with tears rolling down my face a couple weeks ago, and couldn't figure, like, okay, what happened? Like, what was the? Because I wasn't sure.
Trigger.
Like, what just happened? And you know what I realized? I'm full. I was
Yeah,
leaking.
baby.
I'm full and I'm leaking. That's what's that's what that was about. I'm just full. And I do, I teach the yoga, and I do my meditation, and I do my things, and we do the self-care to, especially if we're people who help other people, you do the
Right.
self-care. And I realized, oh, you have to do what you tell all of your clients to do, especially your clients and friends and students who are people who take care of other people, whether it's profession or just because that's what they do, like some lady I'm talking to right now, whether they want to or not, it's just who they are. This empathic thing that you have, there has to be a balance. There has to be some structure into how you navigate. And as you were saying, you do the avoid, like you can deflect when you know that, okay, I don't have the capacity right now to do the thing. So what I realized was something I've been telling my clients all this time is, when your game steps up, you got to step up your
Mm.
self-care. When you start doing more, when you can have a self-care regimen that works fine if you have, say, 10 clients. Well, when you get 20 clients, that self-care regimen has to shift to a 20 client self-care regimen. Because
That's smart.
if you're using the same regimen you were using when you had 10 clients, thinking, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't understand I've been doing my thing. I'm taking care of myself. I'm doing my this, I'm doing my that. And then I ask them, I go, well, what are you doing now that's different? And then it's always an expansion of more.
Right.
And I go, well,
Right.
have you expanded your self-care more? and that was my thing. That's why I was sitting there in the middle, sitting here in the middle of beautiful Bali with tears rolling down my face,
Leaking. Right.
leaking. And I thought, oh, I'm full. It took me it took me a minute to figure it out, and that's what it was. And so I was like, okay, whoa, step up your self-care game again.
Right. I looked at myself in the mirror the other day, and huge dark circles, and my face was drawn, and I'm exhausted, and I have a friend that's so sick, and I'm mediating. And one of the things that I realize is I have no ability to be anything other than a connector. That's what I'm good at. I'm one of those girls where I say, I know somebody, and I know somebody, and I've remained friends with them because I've played the game for so long that we're all friends. Whether I hate you or not, we're all friends. And I have no problem swallowing pride to help somebody else to call them. But my connecting turned into 150 texts a day, and I'm tired. And I do my 10-minute guided meditation every night. And then I finally got a treadmill back there delivered.
Okay.
And then I said, I'm too tired to get on it. I set it for 10 minutes. And I was like, 40 minutes later, I was still power walking on that thing, having these thoughts. And I thought, you are running off this anger, and you probably need to sit and do a half hour of meditation twice a day.
Yeah.
To process. We have race wars. We have Gabby is in New York and doesn't want to leave because now California's exploded, but she wants to move home, and blah, blah, blah. And we don't have any income for our next generation. And the lies on it's like, it's exploding.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm full up, and I just try to laugh every day. And,
I just
but
mentioned
I
that.
think you're right.
I just mentioned that to somebody just yesterday. We were just chatting about some things, and I know that she's been having some up and down all around emotionally and this and that. And I told her, I said, I laugh every day. I have to. I have to laugh every day, even if it's just one of those. That might be all I got today. It's like, I have to at least get a chuckle out. And that's how I ended up looking at goddamn Kalapari. It was like, I was just like, I just need something, and I'm flipping through. Okay, let me get my laugh on tonight. Let me get my chuckle on or something. And that's how I ended up watching Frog Warriors. I was like, all right. And here I am talking.
Frog Warriors. We've got salamanders, but let me tell you, and I make light of Eartha, but I will tell you that voice work for animation has literally saved my sanity in my life, because sometimes that's all the acting that I'm allowed to do. I can become a frog and I can do whatever, because I can play a princess even, but I'll never play one on camera, and blah, blah, blah. But I, especially during this time, I commit to the work. Like, I will print stuff out of my computer, and then I'll sit at my desk where I am and write down the beats and do all the acting work from every class I've ever been in, and creation and breath here, and then what is this beat? And I will tell you, that is my serious moment of like, okay, now I feel really good. And then I'll go to YouTube and watch the little girl who's stuck on the merry-go-round thing, and she's being dragged around in this, and just like crack up and go, oh my God, I have to watch this on repeat, or dogs falling through the snow. And I'm like, I'm dying. I think that you're right. You need to laugh. And that's why you turned on Kulapari. And I don't watch cartoons because it's what I do. So I sit there and think is like, I did a better audition from that. Why didn't I get? And so I don't do that, but I do go on my phone to YouTube, and I'm like, do that again, fall through again. But I think that this young generation, like Gabby is 28. So her generation and below, so 19 to 28, they're very good at saying, I don't have the capacity. I can't watch that. I can't listen to it. I'll listen to that speech or that podcast or that thing when I've got bandwidth. And I think I think that's pretty amazing. I'm like, I'll take it all in, and then I'll just get in bed and cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Empath 101.
Right? I can take one more text. I'm up until 1 anyway. Right. But I do think it's hard but not impossible to do art now. I think we have to keep art alive because no one respects it, but everybody misses it.
Oh my
You know,
God. That's
nobody respects it, but everybody misses it. We'll see how it goes, but I do think that we as artists, and you are an artist, we are all artists, we as artists need to stay the course, because we are going to save this
yeah.
place.
Even if the art, from the inside to the out, the old saying, better out than in. And I've been
Better out
doing
than
that
in.
for years. And there's all kinds of art that I've made that didn't belong to nobody else. And I didn't want anybody else to see it because, ooh, that was dark.
Mm-hmm.
Let me burn that before somebody sees it. But this is the time when art will be the true reflection of what's happening right now. This will be the art is always the truth. Archaeologists ain't looking for news scrolls; they're looking for pottery. And when they when they figure out what that ink was made of, or those chips of this, that will direct them to what was going on. They go, and as you know,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest news is the garbage heap. That's the news. That's the news pile. And in that garbage
Yeah.
heap is a lot of art. There's a lot of the tools. There's a lot of stuff that they threw away, but they made it.
Right.
Somebody made that. you know,
Right.
if it's in the garbage heap, it's something somebody made. There was
Right.
art involved. There was creativity involved. Creativity is history, and we are in it. And then when we don't want to make something, when we don't want to paint that, we have this image. It's like, oh hell no, I ain't gonna paint that. No, baby, this is the time to paint that. This
Yeah.
is the
And
time.
this is when you'll see rising up your young monologists, these people that will get up and do slam poetry and monologues and these running thoughts. And what I find most exciting about that is that you will see similarities across the
Yeah.
entire wave of um, humanity, how
Yeah.
much we are alike and how we're thinking the same thing. And what keeps us apart is intergenerational fear, intergenerational ignorance, anxiety, but mostly fear. And
Yeah.
I forget the expression, the devil is a liar. And fear is false. Only love
Right.
is real.
Right.
Only love is real. And I really believe that. I think that um, one man's fear is another woman's bungee jump.
Yeah.
It's all it's I think it's great, but I think it's hard in this time to open up the spigot, because I know I personally am afraid what will come out. And
Yeah.
it's mostly for me, rage is what I'm feeling now. I am a justice seeker, and I have spent a childhood in on my dad's generation, my mom's generation, of lies, of this is how it all. And so I've always been a truth seeker. So I was afraid, like, if I get my pad out,
Right.
what's going to come spewing forward, and will they
Well,
come arrest me?
well probably. Um, I'd like to thank Candi Milo for joining me today on Mind Your Is-Ness. If you want to check out more on my beautiful sister, check her out at candymilo.com, and be sure to subscribe to Mind Your Is-Ness on Anchor and at Chokae on YouTube. And remember, everybody in the village got a skill. We'll catch you later.